Oh look! There's an NPC! It's wearing short shorts. And a backwards baseball cap. This NPC must be a joke. Hello there, NPC! The monsters have been multiplying of late. Oh right, I need to advance the text. I wonder if it has something to do with that strange witch in the woods. He's so much more than just a jock. I'm fascinated. Let's continue. The monsters have been multiplying. Yes, you told me. I wonder if it has something to do with... Yes, I know, the witch in the forest. Tell me more. The monsters seem to be... Curse you in your short shorts!
Hey everyone, I'm Matt with Nightrun Studio, and I'm working on Willard, a platforming adventure game where you explore a varied, lore-filled world, collect and equip new gear, and battle dangerous enemies. Along the way, you'll encounter NPCs who can become allies on your journey. Some will join you as you explore, but most will need a home base, a village to live in, a place to defend themselves from the attacks of the enemy. And that means some serious NPCs.
As we all know, NPCs are awesome. I mean, they're never cliche.
They're always helpful and full of important information. In fact, I would never wander uninvited into one of their houses, trash their stuff, and steal their goods.
Okay, so why is it that we feel okay stealing stuff and trashing the homes of our NPCs? Sometimes they're just annoying little robots and it's actually kind of cathartic to destroy their homes, but other times these are well-written characters we actually like.
Now, games like Chrono Trigger really revolutionized this. Suddenly your sticky fingers could land you a night in the clink. But that just meant we had to be more careful. We had to be stealthy about the way we plundered these digital citizens. But that's just it. Unless you're a hardcore role player, we all know that we aren't really hurting these players at all. Those NPCs don't have to clean up my mess. They don't need those dishes I smashed. And they certainly aren't going to go hungry because of the food I stole. But what if they could? And so here I am, with a massive development team who've all got tons of time on their hands. Making interesting villagers should be easy, right? And so that's the goal for the summer. Make a village full of interesting, complex villagers. And, well, here's how things are going after about a week. So on day one, I had to figure out what makes these villagers tick. I mean, they've got needs, but they've also got a social life, a need for leisure, spirituality, work. I decided to start with those most basic needs, and so on the first day, I created the ability to find food at their house, travel there, and then eat and have their hunger actually be restored. I also created these nice sliders to track their various stats. Next, I needed to add time, so I created my own internal time system that could be sped up and slowed down. But already I could see how easy it would be to fall into the trap of creating a bunch of mindless eating automatons. And so I took my first step towards making these villagers more dynamic by creating daily schedules for each villager so that they all eat and work at prescribed times. In addition to coming home for meals, they'd also return home to sleep at nighttime. But we're so much more than just our needs. Work is also an important part of what makes us who we are. And so I figured it was time to get these villagers working. We are building a village here after all, so I started with a harvest lumber state, which meant they first had to find a tree and move towards it. You'll notice here that they both start work at different times of day, but once they've harvested enough, the tree is actually chopped down, though at the moment it's not exactly impressive looking. They also are interrupted from their work to return home for meals. Along the way, I wanted to keep injecting individuality, so I created a new script to give them dynamic decay rates. For example, their hunger decays at different rates depending on what state they're in, with combat and work using up much more calories than sleeping. Similarly, characters with more mass will consume more calories. I did something really similar with the rest decay, making it so that activities like combat and work use up a lot of restedness while sleep uses up none. By day 6, I had a full loop where villagers could head out to work, they'd go home where there was a limited amount of food and eat for meals, and they were also able to return the wood that they harvested to one of these lumber mills. I finished out my first week by adding some more impressive sliders to keep track of their resources, as well as their lunch kits, which they could take with them when they went to work. Additionally, I added a market where they could deposit berries, which could be picked from these bushes here. My first design sprint was almost finished, but I could tell I needed a couple more days than the week I'd originally set out. I had created this market where villagers could go and purchase food if they ran out at home, and I also added these nice little dialogue boxes. Always looking for more ways to make these villagers interesting, I created a custom script so that each of them would have different dialogue lines to say upon entering different states. On the final day of the sprint, I made it so you could click on buildings or on characters to see their internal statistics. I also added a season so that only in spring would berries grow on these bushes. And finally, I created a millwright job. So now, after delivering lumber, we would have a millwright who could enter the mill, turn that lumber into actual planks, and then deposit them in the lumber shed. At the end of this first sprint, I know I'd only just scratched the surface, looking at needs and work. What about the social aspects of my characters, their leisure and spiritual lives? Additionally, each of these domains is far more complex than it appears, with all sorts of factors playing into how we arrive at a specific statistic. Add to that the fact that there will be different buildings and locations in the game that will affect people's well-being. Not to mention the quest that you as a player will go on that will also affect their lives. I'm still just figuring out how I'm going to track all the different stats that I'll need for this, not to mention how the statistics are going to tie into the various states the characters find themselves throughout the game. There's a lot left to do, so I'd better get back to work, but in the meantime, if you're enjoying the journey, please be sure to leave me a comment down below, or like or subscribe to the channel. Until next time, this is Matt with Nightrun Studio. Cheers.